There's a stigma today that the older you get, the more popularity points you lose. We're afraid to age because it often translates to additional responsibilities, set routines, and monotony. But what if getting older, or rather, being an old soul, regardless of what age you are, is actually rewarding? When asked what attracted him to make the film Howl's Moving Castle, Hayao Miyazaki states, "Sophie, the girl, is given a spell and transformed into an old woman. It would be a lie to say that turning young again would mean living happily ever after. I didn't want to say that. I didn't want to make it seem like turning old was such a bad thing. The idea was that maybe she'll have learned something by being old for a while, and when she is actually old, make a better grandma." Anyway, as Sophie gets older, she gets more pep. She says what's on her mind. She is transformed from a shy, mousy little girl to a blunt, honest woman. It is not a motif you see often, and, especially with an old woman taking up the whole screen, it's a big theatrical risk. But it's a delusion that being young means you're happy. Miyazaki breaks away from the stereotype of starring young faces when he lets old Sophie be the center, because he understands the value of her journey of maturing, giving the audience an authentic message. Being an old soul means having a sort of wisdom and outlook on life that indicates intelligence. This type of intelligence isn't synonymous to memorizing textbook definitions, but rather, it can only be gained by observing what happens in the world and understanding the intricacies of why those events occur. On the surface, an old soul might seem bland, because they usually don't take part in culturally hip activities, but there's always more to them than meets the eye. Sound familiar? Here are 10 sure signs to look out for if you think you identify as an old soul. 1. You have a deep thirst for knowledge. You're constantly tying together information you pick up on, whether it's from literature, film, or social interactions. Instead of just skimming over various topics, you take the time to go in depth and carefully investigate things you strongly connect with, developing your wisdom. 2. You hate superficial small talk. Forget mentioning the weather or what you had for dinner last night. Instead, you like having meaningful conversations that stimulate your thinking. You're careful and selective about your word choice because you like making every thought count. You naturally have strong communication and verbal skills. Sometimes, others can't keep up with your conversations, making you feel lonely. 3. You see the big picture. Philosophy intrigues you. You're not afraid to question the systems and institutions of society and ask the whys instead of just accepting things at face value. You're comfortable delving in the realm of abstraction, exploring theories and what-ifs. You lean towards possibilities and you're fixed on the future, because what's more abstract than the idea of a moment that hasn't happened yet? 4. You don't want to date. Hookup culture is something that is difficult for you to wrap your head around, and you prefer not to participate in it. Shallow flirting, playing games, and stringing others along are all languages you simply don't speak. You have a strong sense of self and hold standards you refuse to lower, because that would only mean denying a core part of who you are. After all, there's bound to be someone else out there who wishes to meet someone like you. When you finally find someone who gets it, you don't take them for granted, because it was hard for you to find them in the first place. 5. You can see right through people. You can detect lies and deceit miles away. You're good at reading people's intentions, and you don't let just anyone in, being extra careful about who you associate yourself with. People often find it uncanny that you're able to figure them out right from the get-go, making you a natural psychologist. 6. People often go to you for advice. They gravitate towards you because they admire your maturity. You're often seen as a role model. Even if you don't have it all together, somehow you can take even the most chaotic situations and find some sort of valuable lesson in them. Your introspective nature is what helps you make important revelations and reflections, leading people to respect and trust you for having clear, sound judgments. 7. Empathy is your middle name. Sensitive by nature, you are an emotional sponge and can pick up how the people around you feel. You're always willing to lend a helping hand to someone in need, and you're naturally skilled at seeing from different perspectives. Instead of being judgmental, you're very open-minded and open-hearted. 8. You like your space. You value your alone time as it helps you recharge. You find it meaningful to roam off on your own, because distance and time away from the social scene helps you connect the dots and make sense of things that can't be understood in a busy environment. 9. You have a hard time fitting in with people your age. You often feel light years away from your peers and seek people with wiser personalities and more life experiences to become your friends and lovers. You always feel out of place with what is currently trending in pop culture, which can easily cause others to categorize you as a nonconformist or an oddball. But you're willing to be misunderstood if it means keeping some of the genius you have tucked away. You want to keep growing at your own unique pace. Instead of hanging out with a group of people who make you feel even more alone, you find the special few who encourage and nurture you to be the authentic old soul you are. 10. And yet, despite feeling out of place, no one gives you as much clarity as yourself. Knowledge is power, and you cherish every ounce of knowing who you are, even if it's in disagreement with your generation. At one point, you realize that you're not obligated to explain yourself, you just are. And no matter how lonely the path may seem at first glance, you ultimately realize the way you function plays an important role in this world. Old souls have their own special niche, so may you always have the courage to embrace it.